weeks ago, there was a public hearing here on Thursday, December 2nd. Deputy Supervisor Cataldi oversaw that board meeting. And that public hearing was for local law proposed local law number 7. We just adopted local law number 6 for the year with the veterans exemption. Interestingly enough, this local law number 7 that we heard in the public hearing on 2 weeks ago was really kind of all in or all out for cannabis in 2022. I say that because through the process of due diligence this board has done, there really is 2 forms of sales, commercial sales that could be done in the town in 2022 based on this state law. One is lounges, consume on site. I've used the analogy that's like a bar, a tavern, a pub with alcohol. The second is a retail dispensary that you cannot consume when you buy on site. I've used the analogy of that. That's like going to a liquor store for alcohol. So this resolution is one that the board would be voting on to opt out of both going into 2022. Translation, there will be no commercial sales of marijuana recreationally in 2022. And as we have learned on this, opting out, if that's what the board determines to do, on one or both of those, is not a fait accompli from now until the end of time. The town board could in the future come back, look at information that has been compiled from other municipalities, and decide to opt in at a later date. So here's the way this is going to go. This resolution, if this resolution, a motion is made on this, and I want to make sure everybody in attendance and watching at home understands this. If the town board votes at least 3-2 to opt out of allowing cannabis in both retail and on-site, we will not have a public hearing for local law number 8 because there will be no need for local law number 8. Because if you read local law number 8, it is more geared toward a split of the town board has opted out of one of those, most likely the lounge consumption, and would now, through public hearing and discussion on local law 8, figuring out how to do the dispensaries that you can't consume in, such as zoning or feet from churches and this and that. But I can't stress this enough. For everybody who's here today who may be very anxious to get up on that microphone, and we have quite a list of people that have signed up for it. I don't know, it doesn't say whether they're pro or con for this. It is a moot point. There will be no public hearing. There will be no discussion of local law number 8 if, in the next couple of minutes, somebody makes a motion on this board for local law number 7 of opting out of retail dispensaries and on-site cannabis. Now, if one of the board members makes that motion, we do 400 resolutions a year here. And you'll see tonight if you stick around, I wonder if all you will stick around, there's 20 of them. There's so many what I call housekeeping resolutions that we just bing, 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 bing. This is not a housekeeping resolution. This has been one that we have been doing due diligence on and studies and had workshops and had all sorts of things done by this board. So I certainly would open it to the board members as they render their vote. If they want to give a 1 to 2 minute explanation of why they're voting, I certainly hope they will. If they don't want to give that explanation, they don't have to. So, that's my premise.
I move to enact local law number 7 to opt out of cannabis retail dispensaries and/or on-site cannabis consumption sites from being established and operated within the town jurisdiction.
Second.
Councilman Cahill?
So before I vote, I just want to thank all the parties involved. I've done a lot of reading, listened to both pro and con, and at the end of the day, make a principled decision. And that I cannot, on one hand, support a drug-free Webster, which I do, and at the same time allow dispensaries. So I vote yes. Opt out of local law number 7.
Councilman McCarthy?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Well, this has been very difficult for me because I do believe that we're starting to get beyond what the town board governs as. We're starting to look like we're the federal government putting regulations on everything and anything. And I have a hard time with that because I do believe people should be allowed to smoke wherever they want. And yeah, it could hurt somebody's health, but I also think they have the right to do that. Cannabis is here, it's going to be in here, it's going to be sold someplace, it's also going to be smoked in the town of Webster. You can't put regulations on things that can't be enforced. And not, you know, this is one of those things that it's difficult. Right now, the way the law stands, I'm going to vote yes, but I believe we need to take a hard look at this when more regulations come from the federal government in the state.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Supervisor Clary?
You really do like win that bet of getting out of here at 9 o'clock, huh?
Well, I don't have to say much because I wrote an article on June 6th, and then I wrote an article a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to stand by those articles. On June 6th, I said it's not an emotional issue for me, it's not a money issue for me, it's the fact that the state doesn't have their proverbial you-know-what together. I want to see what happens. I'm a fact guy. We don't have those. I want to obtain those. Now, I will say this. Through my education on this, my article just a week or two ago said, I've changed my mind on this. I did not know back on June 6th there were two different types. I don't want lounges and consumption here. But I saw the validity of having the dispensaries here for a lot of reasons, and I wrote that in the article. So for that reason, I'm going to say nay. And I'm saying nay because I thought local law number 8 was what I would like to do. But 4-1, there is no marijuana in town in 2022.
You
For
sold.
sale.
For sale.
Right, for sale. Thank you. There is no sale of marijuana. And I will just say this, and this is government working. You know, there is no, I respect every one of their opinions on this, and I can't argue with their opinions on this board. There's 5 individuals here that have different perspectives on this, and that's the way it should work.
Well,
And it did.
I just want to say that I will never shy away from standing for LD communities. I realize that marijuana will be smoked in town. I realize it's here. It's legal in New York State. I considered possibly the next public hearing and trying to find a place for it in our town, but I'm really very concerned because the state doesn't have their act together yet. Any action that we take on that could be ruled invalid, if you will, because it could be onerous to, it might appear as though we're trying to regulate it too much. So I agree with you, until New York State gets their act together, I'm just going to take away and see it.
So, Attorney Genesi, Town Clerk Dwyer, is there anything else that needs to be said, or this, well, I think there's a...
Oh, I think there's no need to go.
Right. Well,
We just said,
the public hearing for local law number 8 becomes moot. Thank you all who wanted to speak on local law number 8. To moot point.